Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show, brought to you by the Barn Burner Podcast Network and the-barnburner.com. Today we got a Memphis Tigers basketball episode, and we'll hit some football at the end, but we're going to cover the Ole Miss victory. That was a nerve-wracking extended game with a lot of fouls, and the upcoming matchup on Turkey Day against NC State and the Barclays. So pretty big matchup there. They're no slouches. We'll get into them. I'm Zach. You can find me on Twitter at BarnBurnerBro. And with me, I have my co-host, Mason. How are you, sir?
Go to hell, Ole Miss. Kick their ass in basketball, kick their ass in football. That's a good year for the Memphis Tigers. And what better way for the Tigers to get tested in front of their home crowd for the first time than the cross-state rival Ole Miss. The crowd was so electric on TV, as most of you know if you weren't there. The game was played with no broadcasters. So shout out to CW30. And no one really complained. Everyone seems to have loved it. So you just heard the PA announcer Jeff Mack announcing the normal, Lomax for three or whatever, and you got to hear the ball go through the hoop, and the Tigers we kind of fell behind early, but with about 6 minutes to go, we just took control of the game and never looked back until the final stretch of free throws, when Boogie and I believe it was Precious, maybe DJ missed some free throws down the stretch, but Alex Lomax was 4 for 4 in the last minute 16 to make sure the Tigers walked away with that victory. So what were your thoughts on the game? Just overarching thoughts.
So overarching, I think that this was end-to-end Precious's best game of the season.
Cool. He made some of us look really goofy.
Yeah, he played a solid game. He shot free throws terribly, so that seems to be definitely his Achilles heel.
We can't leave it at he shot free throws terribly.
No,
he had quite possibly the two worst free throw attempts in the history of basketball. He airballed 2 in a row, and they weren't even close. They made it halfway down the lane.
So I admit, so I was in the kitchen, and I had my back turned to the TV, and my wife, she laughed, and I was like, "What happened?" She was like, "Oh, he just barely hit the bottom of the net." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's not good." I was like, "Oh, that's Precious. That kind of makes sense." I turned around and watched it again. I was like, "Is this a replay, or did this legit happen 2 times in a row?"
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the times I wish that there had been announcers in the game, because they would have said something so awkward and shitty right at that point. It would have been worth it. But yeah, shout out to Precious for bouncing back, man. Sorry for interrupting you, but I couldn't let him slide with terrible shooting.
That's true, but terrible shooting from the line, from the field, 10 of 16. So great game down there. 25 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks. I mean, just a solid performance. He just showed up with, he's got to step up. He's going to have to do that down low, because he started alongside Isaiah Maurice, and he only played 11 minutes and was pretty much, he didn't do anything.
Right. I mean,
so
what do we expect?
Yeah, and then we're just not that deep down there. Lance Thomas, he played a few minutes. He did get 5 rebounds and 3 blocks, but he also got 4 fouls, didn't score. So Precious is really going to have, a lot of the onus is going to be on him down low, getting those rebounds, putting them back. That is not where we're stretched pretty thin at this point until Wiseman gets back.
Yeah, and on Precious, that game was kind of where you see the lottery talent, because it wasn't like he was forcing a lot of shots or kind of out of control like we had previously seen, kind of up to that game, really. But he really played under control. And I think some of that was Penny Hardaway said he had to talk with him about doing all the little things that he's going to have to do to get to the next level and be successful. And what that is basically the Montrezl Harrell type role, just a tenacious offensive rebounder, a garbage man who can also be skilled enough to get a bucket on his own every now and then. But that's just kind of what Precious's role is going to be moving forward. And that's what Penny and his staff pride themselves on is, or they say they are priding themselves on is getting players to the next level. We haven't really seen it to fruition yet, although Jeremiah Martin looks like he's going to be on his way. But I say all that to say Precious wasn't like overimposing his will in this game, and he was still the best player on the court. So that's kind of what speaks to lottery level talent. And then we got to mention DJ Jeffries. What a monster game for the other freshman who kind of has been forgotten about until Wiseman went down. We also didn't mention Lester Quinones left this game early with a broken wrist. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. So in the absence of those two freshmen, DJ Jeffries has kind of stepped up as he's done all year. And he was the one who I felt like was making all the plays. Like if you would have asked me who had more points at the end of the game, I would have said DJ and not Precious. Because the announcers definitely weren't keeping us updated during the game with the point totals.
And there was also funny is there were no graphics that came on the screen except at the very end, like in the last 2 minutes or so, there was a graphic that said Memphis 4 of last 4, and then a couple minutes later it was Ole Miss 3 of last 3 or something like that. I was like, how did that get chosen to be the only stats that get flashed up there?
Right. Yeah. So that was funny. What was DJ's full stat line? Do you have that?
Yeah, DJ had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks on 10 of 16 shooting.
That's pretty damn good.
The Tigers bench actually outscored the starters 52 to 37. Or no, sorry. My math's hard. 87 minus 52 is what? 35.
25. Yeah,
35. With 25 of those being Precious's. That ain't easy to say.
No.
So guys like Ball, Ellis, Maurice, and then we mentioned Quinones going out with the injury, really not super impactful on the offensive end of the floor. But we did have excellent games also by 2 other bench guys, Alex Lomax and Tyler Harris. I think that was probably their best game of the season, I would say.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Tyler finally saw some shots fall. I think he hit three 3-pointers and had like 15 points. And Alo had 14 points, which he's not really known for his scoring. Had some big buckets late, like a driving and one layup. And as we mentioned, he hit those free throws to kind of ice the game. But he also had 7 rebounds and 7 assists.
Yeah.
Like
complete
Alo
game.
Was awesome in that game. And he got a huge rebound like amongst the trees. And you were talking about how thin we are in the with the bigs, and our guards are going to have to gain rebound. And Alo is more than willing to do that. And he really showed why he was a 3-time Mr. Basketball winner.
If Memphis is going to go far in the conference tournament and in the NCAA tournament, a lot's going to fall on him to be the guy, the calm, cool, collected presence. He's only got 1 more year of experience than most of the guys on the team, but I mean that's 1 year, and he's been in that leadership type role. He's going to have to step up and just kind of bring everyone back in when things are going crazy. And I think we saw our first glimpse of that the other day, so that was really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, that kid is built for it. Like, you can just tell the way he carries himself. He is built for that role, leading a basketball team for 4 years, almost Antonio Anderson style. Whoever your favorite college 4-year point guard is, name him. But Alo is that dog. He's going to keep the team cool, calm, and collected. And just with the influx of talent around him, that's what we were saying last year, is how much better he was going to be. And you're starting to see that pay off because he can pass, he can defend. Just him and Tyler were huge. And Penny referred to them and DJ as the Memphis crew coming off the bench. So we'll see if DJ slides into the starting lineup with no Lester, no Wiseman. Seems like he would be a logical replacement, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so speaking of that, what do you think is going to happen there? I believe Penny mentioned this week he was going to keep Maurice there. I don't.
Well, I mean, who else you going to start down low? Like Lance Thomas is arguably, and for me, he's been the biggest disappointment of the year so far. And maybe I think he's not kind of found his role and hasn't been able to get comfortable. He just kind of doesn't seem like he's fitting in well. But he seemed to be a leader of the team in the preseason, and all the things we saw in scrimmages and stuff. He looked like he was going to be an impact player, knocking down threes and grabbing rebounds, and we really haven't seen that yet. So, and Penny has already said that he doesn't want to start Precious at the 5 to prepare him for when Wiseman gets back. He doesn't want to kind of switch things up too much. So I think you got to start Maurice. You're going to have Precious. You're going to have Ball. And you're going to have Boogie. And then I'd probably go DJ.
You'd bring in, okay, you're thinking bring in DJ instead of Alo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think – I don't have strong feelings either way. But if it was my choice, I would bring DJ in. And I just like having that point guard off the bench.
That's true. I kind of like, on the flip side, having that big-time scorer off the bench in DJ so that our offense doesn't go stagnant whenever he's out of the game. Because even though he's coming off the bench, he led the team in minutes in the Ole Miss game. I just think having that 3-guard lineup could be pretty interesting. Maybe Alo would be able to get Boogie and Ball going because they just haven't so far. Tigers shooting from 3 just been horrendous. They only made 3 the other day of 11, and now it's like they're not even taking them. They were taking a lot at the earlier in the year, and now they're just not even shooting them at all. They got the yips. But I just think that keeping DJ, if he's cool with that, and you can like maintain the ego and keep him confident and everything, which I'm sure is a tough thing to do in this situation. That's an angle I would look at.
And I guess it really just depends on Penny could go matchup based. We'll get into NC State and what they have, but those 3 guards could set the tone against NC State because they're kind of bigger and could allow us to get out to playing that fast pace, pressing with Alo and Ba. And Boogie actually is our leader in steals on the team. I think he's like number 27 in the nation. He's averaging almost 3 a game. So you put those 3 out there. And I mean, that's wreaking havoc, but it depends on if the coaching staff thinks they'll be able to hold up with the size that NC State is going to present.
Yep, no doubt. We'll get to see all of that very soon. Just a reminder, go subscribe to the Barn Burner Podcast Network. You'll get Backdoor Cut Show. We cover Grizzlies, Tigers, also have Theater and College Hoops by some of our friends, awesome college basketball podcast, and then In the Can for some movies and other flicks. Go subscribe to the Barn Burner Podcast Network. Thank you in advance. All right, so moving on to NC State. So did some digging on them. They have a pretty high-powered offense, similar to Memphis. They play a fast pace. They average 84.5 points a game. We average 86.7. They are a more experienced team. They're shooting 33% from 3, 54% from 2. They're definitely not going to be any slouches. They did lose their opening game to Georgia State. CJP beat them, which is kind of a
Georgia
bummer.
Tech. Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Sorry, not Georgia State.
You tried to Tennessee them.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. We can't disrespect them that bad.
Yeah, I zoned out there for a second. My bad. Thanks for keeping me on my toes. I appreciate it.
Well, you could have rolled with it until you said CJP.
Yeah, that's true.
No one was gonna.
No one was gonna fact check me on the early season opener for NC State, probably.
No, maybe the Theek guys. That'd be about it.
That's true. They would definitely call me on that one. So the leader on this team is the senior guard, Markell Johnson. He's their main distributor. He's dishing out almost 7 assists per game. His assist rate is top 50 in the country. He's scoring 10 points a game right now. He's not shooting very efficiently. He's shooting 34%, which is 10% lower than his career mark. And I did a Q&A, which I'll have up on the site, the-barnburner.com in the morning with a preview of this game. And I reached out to one of the NC State bloggers and asked him some questions, and he said that the offense pretty much runs through Markell, and he's cold so far this year, but they definitely expect him to break out of it. Similar to last week when Memphis played Ole Miss, and Brian Tyree got hot from 3.
You called that, man.
And I feel good about that. Thanks.
Because he led them in scoring. He had 24. If it wasn't for that pesky Precious, he would have been the leading scorer in the game. So
yeah, and we just can't afford for another guy to have his hot game against us. So that's someone to keep an eye on. Right now, their most efficient scorer is a guy named C.J. Bryce, 6'5" senior. So a couple seniors leading the way. He's averaging 17.7 points, 7.7 rebounds.
okay.
So he's just kind of filling up the stat sheet everywhere. They got a guard, Devon Daniels, averaging almost 2 steals a game. About 25% of the time he's taking a shot. He's putting in 14 points, almost 4 rebounds also. They got a good offensive rebounder. He's not getting a whole lot of minutes right now, but his percentage is pretty good of offensive rebounding, named Jericho Helms. He's averaging over 9 points and over 4 rebounds per game. And they do have a 6'11" guy named Manny Bates. He's a redshirt freshman.
Turn all these guys, and last year, I believe they made the NIT and won a couple games.
I think they were Final Four of the NIT.
Okay, which we won one game and got bounced in the second round of the NIT last year. So yeah, I guess they came into the season with some pretty good expectations, returning these guys, getting old Manny Bates back.
Old Manny Bates, our old pal. They also have a newcomer, Pat Andre. He's a 6'10". Or no, sorry, he's not 6'10". In fact, I'm going to check myself real quick. He's 6'8", but he plays like a stretch 4 type play.
Okay.
He's averaging almost 42% from 3. He's a grad transfer from Lehigh. And so far, Stephen Muma of Backing the Pack said that he's the top newcomer for NC State so far. So they only had 2 guys come in this year, but he's been the most impactful new guy.
Yeah, okay.
And they also have a 6'10" guy coming off the bench who averages over 11 points, 5 rebounds, and DJ Funderburk, which could be on the all-name team for people
sure.
who played this year. I haven't seen what this guy looks like, but I probably need to pull up a picture because that's a heck of a name.
Yeah, for sure. So man, they got some size. They got some big guys. And as you mentioned, we're a little bit smaller, so it's gonna be an interesting matchup. But they like to play fast if they're averaging, just as many points per game as we are.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they also press, so that could be an interesting. Oregon, I think Oregon pressed us something.
Yeah,
but being down a guard is not super helpful. I remember in the Oregon press, we were trying to break it with like moon passes, because especially with our shorter guards, and I mean that's just real dangerous. I don't think that's a very sustainable way to break a press, according to everything that I've been taught.
Yeah, especially not against an experienced team. Mm-hmm. But if we get rolling, and I don't think they'll want to run with us. I don't think any team in the country will want to run with us if we get rolling. Just with the amount of guards that we have who can handle the ball. Now, granted, we're going to be probably relying on Jaden Hardaway and Ryan Boyce in this game. Penny doesn't seem to be even thinking about cutting down the rotation at this point, based on the comments he gave to the media the other day. Said people are going to have to step up, and he specifically mentioned Boogie. Boogie's going to have to step up. Damian. Yeah. Neither one of them have really brought a whole lot. They haven't been bad, but they just haven't. I mean, Boogie, I felt like in the second half, he was on the bench like the whole game against Ole Miss, or the whole half. So he's expecting those 2 guys to pick it up, as well as Boyce and Jaden. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can handle that press. Because I feel like against Oregon, Jaden had a turnover or 2, was a little iffy in that press that you were talking about. So going to need those guys to step up. But with Alex Lomax and Tyler Harris and Boogie out there, not to mention DJ and Precious, like I just feel like we have the legs and the horses to run with anyone in the nation.
Yeah, DJ for his size just runs incredibly well. I mean, he had several fast break dunks the other day. He just knows how to get out there and be the outlet. and then knows how to finish. Because he's going to be finishing on the guards of the other team, and it's just not even close.
Yeah. Oh, he had that nasty dunk to seal the game, and then looked into the crowd with his arms stretched out. Like was an iconic moment. I felt like, and then of course, Ole Miss hits the half court three.
That's probably why our Ken Palm didn't improve, because they hit that shot and hurt the spread.
Yeah, and we were all over Scott Van Pelt's bad beats because I mean we were up by 7 with 1:16 to go, and the line was Tigers -4, and then Tyree hit a 3. Like I think it was Tyree one time came down and just dunked it, like drove straight down the middle of the court and dunked it, and then we took it back and got fouled, missed some shots, and then DJ had that dunk to seal it. But yeah, that was if you bet on the Tigers, I'm sorry that had to happen to you that way. That is about as bad as it comes when it comes to heartbreaking bets.
I do hope that this game has less fouls in it.
I mean, it's college basketball, dude. College basketball is so hard to watch. Like, they call fouls on everything.
There were 56 fouls in the Memphis Ole Miss game, which it took. So games should take 2 hours. That one took over 2.5 hours. That's kind of painful.
And I felt like all those fouls kept Ole Miss in the game, because it seemed like time and time again we were kind of ready to make a run, but there's no momentum to the game.
The momentum, yeah.
So, that's my gripe on college basketball at the moment.
And they're calling like you touch someone too much hard coming off a screen, you graze their hip, and you're calling a foul. Yeah. It's not like you hack someone at the rim or impact the actual game. Yes, we don't need to gripe about that. You're right.
And then another storyline for traveling to, because I don't even know, you might have mentioned it, but this game against NC State is in Barclays Arena as part of one of these little tournaments. So we're going up there to play NC State. And Lester Quinones is from New York, so hate that he's going to miss out on playing in front of some of his friends and family, but hopefully they still come to the game and he gets to see them.
Yeah, that is a bummer for him, for everyone, especially because he's been playing so well. He was AAC Freshman of the Week a couple weeks ago. He was my most impressive player last week, so I'm sure that he was really upset that he won't continue to get awards from the barn burner.
Man, it's got to be killing him on the inside. What else on Tiger basketball? You mentioned we dropped in Ken Palm. Are we I think we're 42 or 43, and then NC State is right there with us. They're like 45, right?
They're 41 right now. So
41.
Right now, the 50%. It's a dead on.
It's a coin flip.
It's a coin flip, yeah. Kenneth Pomeroy has us losing 81-80. So.
And yesterday he had us winning 81-80. So it sounds like Ken Palm's trying to cover his own ass. But the Wolfpack is not ranked in either the AP or the coaches poll, and they're not even receiving votes, which I found interesting for us to be that close. And they only got one loss. Have they lost?
They lost. So Georgia State, just kidding, Georgia Tech. They lost in overtime to them to open the season. And the main problem is they haven't beaten anyone yet, or haven't played anyone. Detroit, FIU, St. Francis, New York, Alcorn, and Little Rock. So all those are 150 and below. But after they play us, they play Wisconsin, Wake, UNC Greensboro, and Auburn. Back to back to back to back. Did I get that? Back to back. Yeah, sure did. And so those are all top 100 teams. So that and
Greensboro is?
Yeah, they're squeaking in the 99th spot.
Oh, well, anyway, we don't care about those teams. And then the Tigers, of course, are ranked number 16 in the AP poll. The coaches poll still hating on them. They got us down there at 20. So it's gonna. I'm interested to see the discrepancy in those two polls throughout the year to see if coaches really are just hating on Penny. Because last year we never were ranked, so we didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, and getting this win for Memphis could end up being really good, because NC State's got a pretty a pretty good schedule going forward. They got ACC.
Well, I mean,
so
yeah, they're in the ACC. They play everybody.
Yeah, they got Virginia once, Louisville, Duke twice, North Carolina once. So if they can conceivably win, pick off a few of those games and we beat them, that's going to bode well for us towards tournament time.
And they usually do. They're one of those programs that isn't just, they're not like Vandy football in the SEC that just gets slapped around.
Mm-hmm.
They go in there and throw their own punches and stay in the fight. Sometimes they make surprise runs. So a good matchup with them. Is that the only game we got this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Anything else you wanted to hit on in regards to Tigers basketball?
No, man. Excited about that game. Hopefully it's a little less stressful than the Ole Miss one. I was on pins and needles the whole time. I'm glad the football game wasn't too tough.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it great to have that Tiger basketball feeling back? Like, just
that you care,
because I have
it means so much.
Yeah, I mean, we got back into it last year, obviously, and we had some fun times. But just, man, those high stakes games, it's just nothing like them. But so definitely excited for more of those as the year goes on. Then we got Tiger football. They played Saturday, went down to Tampa and beat the hell out of South Florida. They fell behind 10-7 early on. Brady White had 2 interceptions, but Tigers just ended up manhandling them. The Tigers defense only allowed South Florida to pick up 5 first downs in the entire game. And like Ooh. 3 of them were like on the first drive. Brady White attempted 1 pass after halftime. Patrick Taylor had 3 touchdowns. So good to see him back. The last time he scored a touchdown was the season opener against Ole Miss. Kenneth Gainwell did Kenny Gainwell things, had over 100 yards yet again for the 7th time, which is a freshman record. And every time he goes over 100 yards, he just breaks his own record.
So is that at Memphis or?
Yeah, at Memphis. Okay. Yeah. So with him and Patrick Taylor, like the backfield is so versatile now, almost that smash and dash type style. Not Lindell White and Chris Johnson on the Titans, of course. But and then we got Antonio Gibson, and now with both of those running backs back and some of our receivers like Calvin Austin stepping up, Norvell's really getting to use Antonio Gibson in a variety of ways. This week he was handing the ball to him and he scored a rushing touchdown, kind of in the similar mold as Tony Pollard and what we expected Gainwell to be coming into this year. Gainwell, of course, got tossed into the workhorse duties with the Patrick Taylor injury. And then Calvin Austin continues to make big catches. Kadarian Jones, a senior wideout, had a nice catch for a long touchdown. Like I said, the Tigers just rolled over South Florida. I don't know what happened to that program because they were pretty good a couple years ago, and they have not been good since they hired Charlie Strong. On the other side of the AAC, Cincinnati held on to beat Temple, who you might recall beat the Tigers when Brady White he had fumbleitis. And
that was a tough, and Joey caught the ball.
Yeah. I'm trying to forget about that game in general. But so Cincinnati beat Temple 15-13 in just a brutally ugly game. if you like watching Tiger football as it is now, that game was not for you. Just a defensive slugfest, and that's what you're going to get out of Cincinnati. They're not a high-scoring team, but they do have a good pass defense. They got like 14 interceptions on the year. They got one guy who has 4. So Brady and his receivers are definitely going to have to be on the same page. We can't have too many turnovers. They're not. Their quarterback only averages like 170 yards per game passing, and their running back only averages about 85 yards per game. So we're going to be able to stay in the game as long as we don't turn it over. And even if we do have a couple turnovers and our defense steps up like they have all season, then I'm not worried about Cincinnati, really. Like, I know it's a big game. We're number 18 in the college football playoff rankings. Cincinnati is number 19. Cincinnati, another reason I'm not too worried about it is they're not playing for anything. They're in the AAC title game no matter what, win or lose. But the Tigers aren't. Navy who the Tigers beat. Last week played SMU and beat SMU, who the Tigers also beat. So if Memphis loses, Navy wins, Navy will go represent the West Division in Cincinnati.
Ooh.
So Memphis has to win, and I think we're just playing better football than Cincy. Like they have 2 losses. They played Ohio State and lost 42-0. That's not that bad. But they just don't have a lot of impressive wins, which the Tigers might not either, but we have wins over SMU and Navy, and Cincinnati can't say that. And those are 2 teams who have been right on the top 25 or fringe top 25 all year long. And like I said, I don't think Cincy can score enough points to keep up with this Mike Norvell, Brady White-led offense. Brady White's numbers are ridiculous. Like he's in the top of the nation in almost every passing category. I think he's 7th in passing efficiency. Like number 1 is Tua, then like it's a bunch of teams who are fighting for the playoffs, and then it's like Brady White right there. So that's cool to see. He's right ahead of Trevor Lawrence, the Clemson quarterback, who everybody was super high on, NFL prospect. So I'm not worried about Cincinnati. Give me the Tigers by 14 at least, and then we'll invite Cincinnati back the following week for a rematch in the AAC championship game. We'll kick their ass again, and then we'll go to Dallas and play in the Cotton Bowl and see what we can do against one of those. Right now, the projections are like Florida or Notre Dame. Either one of those would be fucking cool. And coming back from my wife and I will be traveling to the South for Christmas, and it's conveniently enough that our layover is always in Dallas. So we're just going to fly to Dallas and go to the Cotton Bowl if we make it there. I don't want to do any jinxing, but a matchup against Cincinnati this week. Black Friday, team will be in their traditional Black Friday black uniforms that they've worn the past couple of seasons. And we're going to be in prime time. We've had some huge games on Black Friday, like some of those Houston, just like barn burners.
Hey, branding.
But yeah, man, that's my spiel on Tiger football. A good win over USF, a big matchup against Cincy for opportunity to play for the American Athletic Championship for the 3rd year in a row.
Got Sanchez Blake coming back this week, I believe.
We do got him back, so put that in the secondary. Like I said, Cincinnati isn't known for their passing, but they're going to have some things up their sleeve because they know that they're going to have to do some, like, find different ways to score. So having that experience back in the backfield, and Sanchez Blake was a terror before his injury. I think he's leading the team in tackles, and he's one of those guys who is just all over the place, man. We got Austin Hall back last week. Always good to see our senior leader out there.
Yeah, it just seems like everything, the team's peaking at the right time. Players are coming back. It's Brady's on fire. I don't know. The stars seem to be aligning this year. We've had a couple good years with high win totals, but this one seems to be, one to remember.
I mean, if things go as Vegas thinks that they will go, this will be the best season in Tiger football history. And nothing better than that.
No, that's awesome.
So Tigers NC State on Thursday, Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Memphis playing host to our old rival, Cincinnati. Maybe we can drum up some of that bitterness in these next 2 weeks and begin to hate the Bearcats again. Get out of here, Nick Van Exel. All right, but that's it. We out of here. We'll be back probably Sunday, maybe before then. It's the holidays. Who knows? Depends on if Ja Morant and Grizz do anything incredible or if these 2 Tiger games are worthy of us talking about. But until then, we gone.
See you later.